Hey, my name's Anthony.
My name's Alex.
And we are
The PTA Podcast.
Hey everybody, thank you again for tuning in for another episode of the PTA Podcast. Before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe to us on YouTube and on Spotify. Thanks a lot. Team, I'm here today. I'm really excited. I got my business coach on the podcast with me. Very happy. I was quite privileged and honored to be on yours. So I'm really happy that you've decided to agree to come onto my one. You're a big inspiration for why I started the podcast again. We had it a few years ago. My brother and I stopped it because we just weren't managing our time well. But I really enjoyed listening to yours. And I thought to myself, I would really love to get back to reconnecting with people and our audience and just talking about all the things that are important to us. And I've told you in the past, I'm a big fan of yours. I learn a lot from the guests that you get on and from your podcast. So quite happy to have you on mine, man. So thank you again for coming on.
Oh, thank you, mate. It's an absolute pleasure and a joy, and I appreciate the invite.
Thanks, mate. So look, just for our listeners, for our people that are watching today and our followers, tell us a little bit about yourself. You've had a really, really exciting career in the fitness industry. But talk to us about the early days of Dan, where you came from, and then just what brought you to where you're at today.
Yeah, how far back are we going?
Let's talk the day you were born. No, I'm kidding. Let's go with, from when you started like your first kind of job and just build it from there.
Awesome. So I was born and raised in Sydney's eastern suburbs, around the Kingsford, Kensington area. My parents always had their own businesses, so it's all I knew. And quite often after school, I'd go to their print shop. Dad had a print shop. It was a family business. And that's really where I was immersed in business itself. So long before I started my first, I was learning, I think, just from osmosis from my parents. And learnt so much. I went to university and did a sport and exercise management degree. Off the back of that, I then went and did an honours degree in human movement. And I got out and I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew that I loved sport, I loved fitness, but I didn't know what the career path was. And I started in a corporate accounts management role for a business called Classic Sportswear. And we do licensed apparel for NRL teams. And I was working in that, quite enjoyed it, negotiating big deals. I had some really good budgets. I learned a lot. I was like a deer in the headlights, but learned how to sell, learned how to, really generate trust and relationships in the industry itself. But I loved fitness. And so I was doing personal training, mobile personal training on the side. It was just out the back of my car. And I was just traveling around after work, on weekends, wherever I could squeeze it in. And I was probably doing about 10 hours of PT a week. And it was just an itch that I couldn't ignore. It was just like, I really enjoy this and I want to do more of it. And I was walking past a tiny little old laundromat, and it had a full sign out the front of it on Malabar Road. And I was like, that's going to be my PT studio. This is in South Coogee. And I had no idea really what I was doing, but I knew that I was passionate about fitness and I wanted to go all in on it. I had very little in the way of savings, but I put every cent I owned into that. And I just went and pre-sold memberships to essentially fund it. And that was my first foray into business. And it was all of about 30 square meters. So not a heap bigger than this room, probably only another 50% bigger than this podcast room. But to me, it was everything. And I didn't know what I didn't know. So I didn't know how to market, how to sell particularly well. I didn't know around how to build a team. But what I did know how to do is look after people. And I knew how to really care for people and make sure that I got them results and that they could see progress. And the natural kind of extension of that was we got busier. And so I ended up hiring team, and then the shop next door became available. So I took that over, and then the shop next door became available, and then I took that over. And we built a really great business there. I have so many fond memories. And really for me, that was like my second university degree, but it was in business and real life. And I learned more there than I did in my 5 years of university. At the same time, I started a passion project. And I was one of the first in the country to really utilize kettlebells in my training. And it's kind of crazy to think now, but kettlebells weren't a tool that were being used at all. We're going back around 2008.
Yeah.
And my friend and I, he ended up becoming my business partner. We decided to write a kettlebell course for other people that wanted to learn how to use kettlebells. It was just a little passion project, but we put a lot of time and energy into it. And we both had academic backgrounds, so we constructed this beautiful manual. We were the first ever certified course in Australia, and we were just running that on the weekends. And what started happening was demand for this new training tool just became a wave, and we were getting calls from people all around Australia, overseas, for this certified course. And so that was really exciting, and that was the start of an organization called the Functional Training Institute. So I had my personal training studio, Coastal Bodies, and then I had this Functional Training Institute. And that ended up becoming a bit of a beast. We ended up with about a dozen certified courses, delivering in 16 countries. I had 30 facilitators. Wow. I had this PT studio. By that point in time, I'd really gotten it to run largely on its own. So I had this really successful PT studio. I had this education company, and that's where I spent a lot of my time. After 10 years of having both, I decided that it was time to sell the studio. So I sold my first business and just focused and went all in on the Functional Training Institute. And we had some ups and downs, some wild ups and downs that we'll no doubt dive into today. And then a few years ago, it was 10 years ago, so not a few years ago, 10 years ago, I really saw that there was a gap when it came to business knowledge and acumen and just financial literacy and everything around running business for fitness business owners. And it came about because I'm training people on how to become better technicians, better coaches, and they were so invested in themselves, in their craft, but then they didn't have a business that reflected that. And so very just kind of more informally, we started doing some business coaching and mentoring. And about 5 years ago, I went, no, this is where I'm really feeling the pull. I want to be all in on the business coaching and mentoring side. So my business partner and I at that time, we divided up the assets. We had a gym as well. So we had a gym, we had an education company, we had a coaching company. I took the gym and the coaching company and went all in.
Okay.
And that was really where Fitness Profit was born.
Yeah.
And for really about the last 4 years, that's been where I've been placing a majority of my time, energy, and attention. We have a couple of other businesses that now run alongside it. So we've got the Growth Agency, which is our digital marketing agency. And then I'm also a co-owner in a business called Filex, which delivers conventions.
Yeah, I used to go to Filex.
Yeah, it used to be just a beast back in its day. It was a real highlight on the calendar because you get about 1,200 fitness professionals all at the convention center in Darling Harbour. Looks very, very different today, but it's still, we want to uphold that legacy. So it's a very important business.
Well, it's definitely helped. Filex definitely helped me in a lot of ways.
Oh, I think a lot of people have very fond memories of Filex. It was kind of like Christmas for the fitness industry. It's where everybody came together, and you get all these amazing facilitators that you just like watch on social media come over from the US and Canada and from other parts of the world. So it was very, very exciting. The convention space has changed dramatically.
Yeah.
Just the way that people are learning is different. The big shift happened around COVID, and the big conventions no longer exist. They're no longer viable, but we still want to uphold the two tenets that business stands on, and that is world-class education and world-class venues. And so that's what we do every year. Yeah,
well, I've noticed what you've been doing. I'm definitely keen to come to the next one.
Yeah.
The last one I went to was a while ago. They brought out Charles Poliquin. Dan, what's his name? Not Dan. Clean Health Fitness Institute.
Dane McDonald.
Dane brought him out. And that was the last one I've been to. That was in Melbourne, though.
Yeah, so you're going back. You're going back probably about 8 years. Yeah, I presented at that back in the day.
It was really good. That was kind of maybe my second or third one that I'd gone to, because I just found him so beneficial for me as the leader of the business to come back with everything I've learned, sit down with the team over like a weekend and just run through all the stuff that I had learned. and then put stuff together for my clients and run little education days for my clients and what I had learned. It would just really motivate me because as soon as I learned something, I was always thinking about how can I implement this into what we do at the moment. And yeah, I never wanted to let anything I learned ever go to waste.
Yeah.
You're investing a lot of time and money and effort, but I just want to make sure that we could do the best that we could with what we learned, right? And I have always been a fan of the Filexes and all these other different types of conventions or events in our industry because they're just such a good way to put yourself in a room full of people that are like-minded, but just to level up and to educate. And I think that's the biggest passion point for a lot of the people in our industry is they want to get better so they can serve their communities better. Well, for me, it's always been that case. And even all the clients in the Fitness Profit are very much the same, you know. But let's go back to the gym that you had or the personal training studio that you had. A lot of fun memories, as you said before, right?
Fantastic business. Loved it.
Yeah. So what was the reason, not the reason, what was the kind of nail in the coffin for you, so to speak, for why you wanted to sell that business? Because being a business owner for over 10 years, I haven't come to that decision yet. I haven't come to that kind of mindset yet. Was it because of the fact of you could see the education side of what you were working on just becoming such a big beast and you saw that as the future? Or did it just get to a point where you were like, I love what I've built here, but it's time to say goodbye? Was it a combination of both?
I think there was two main reasons, two core reasons. Number one, I was no longer loving being a coach myself.
Yeah, okay.
And I remember just going through the motions when I was coaching, right? And so I was still doing about 6 hours of coaching within that business itself. And I'd be clock watching and I was like, I've never felt work where I'm clock watching. So that was a feeling that didn't sit well with me. And I remember a client at the time, actually, she's like, Dan, you're not really here, are you? And I was like, I'm not. And so I knew that the passion that I'd had for 10 years in that business, it was no longer there. It still was meant a lot to me. It was my baby, and I'd built it from absolutely nothing. It still exists there today. Wow. Still two of my coaches that I had are in there. I drive past it every day. So it's really cool to see that legacy continue. But that was reason number one. It just wasn't lighting me up like I used to. And I never wanted to have a business, and don't get me wrong, business is not all roses and rainbows. We know that, but we're often going through the challenges or doing the hard work because we've just got this just passion that cannot be extinguished. And it just felt like I was going through the motions. So that was reason number one. Reason number two was what you spoke about, was the opportunity with FDI was immense.
Yeah,
we were brokering some great deals overseas. The opportunities and the upside was huge, and it just deserved more of me. And the opportunity cost by me not being in it as much was starting to take effect. Okay. So that was the second thing. I will add a third element, is it was the right time. In terms of what was happening in the fitness industry, the market, it was the right time to sell as well. So, I was able to get a 2.5 times multiple on my sale, which is a 2.5 times net profit. It's very hard to do on independent businesses. I don't think any would pretty much get to that point these days on independent businesses. But I was able to secure that because my timing was good as well.
Yeah. Even the franchise businesses, they're not getting that.
No, they're not.
There's a guy that I follow, he's a business broker, and he's always sending me emails about, fitness businesses that are for sale. Yeah. And I'm looking at the Anytime Fitnesses that are for sale all around Sydney, and they're for sale for 500,000 or 300,000 or 400,000. The most I've seen is 800,000 being for sale for. I'm like, that's a 1,000+ member facility, and that's you do the maths, right?
And franchises generally get, like, if an independent's going to get a 1 or 1.5, a franchise will get a 2, 2.5, right? So exactly. they get a better multiple. And some of the franchises, Anytimes are actually on the upper end.
Yeah, three now. Yeah,
correct. They're even better again.
They just opened up a concept model, or they're turning out a concept model at the airport.
Interesting.
Very interesting. And one of my friends who works as a coach there, he was telling me that head office and the one that opened up one near me, they went in together. And I'm quite interested to see how they go with that model in the airport. because the airport closes at, I think that the last flight is like 10 or 11 o'clock. I don't think that, I know the workers are all there.
Yeah, there's a lot of staff there, right?
They have over 1,200 staff there.
That's exactly right.
So I'm hoping, like, it'd be cool to see it go. All right, I'm thinking that maybe the next time I go for a flight, just duck in on a quick session and then, while I'm waiting,
Yeah.
But yeah, I can really appreciate your honesty with that. And it's one of the things that I've always thought about. It's like, when I don't know, for me personally, I love training people. I've always had conversations with Jen about, can I just get someone to run the business side? I just want to keep training everyone because that's what I absolutely love. And, I have my morning block that I do 3 or 4 days a week, and it's just a really fun way to start the day. I do my couple hours in the morning, then I just go and be a business owner for the rest of the day, right? But kettlebells, because if you were the first one in the country to kind of really bring it out and put a certified course, where did you learn it from?
Yeah, so great question. There was other people doing it. They just hadn't gone down the certified path. But we went to the source, and the source of kettlebells is the Eastern Europeans.
Okay.
So it's looking at your Latvians,
Yeah.
it's your Russians, Ukrainians. They're the ones that have been using kettlebells for a long period of time. They've been competing in the sport of kettlebells, Girovoi, for a long period of time as well. Okay. And so we looked and we said, who's one of the best in the world out there? And it was a guy called Vasily Ginko. So he's a Latvian just monster, right?
Yeah.
And a number of people, we were involved, but a group flew him out and we learnt from him directly. Wow. And we did that for 2 or 3 years. We flew him out, learnt from him directly. He had a certification, one of the hardest certifications of my life. I think there was only 4 people in all of Australia that passed his level 3 certification, me being one of them. And it was just a phenomenal experience. So here we had this new tool. Not many people knew about it. We were learning from this guy that really couldn't speak much English, but he was teaching us, how to do it the right way. And so he was the main teacher. There were others along the way. There was lots along the way. But he was the guy that we learned from originally. But I would often fly to all parts of the world to go and learn different areas of training. We really prided ourselves on being very good at our craft. So the guy that created battling ropes was a guy called John Brookfield. He's an old school strongman in North Carolina, flew to North Carolina. Steve Cotter was another guy with kettlebells. He resided in San Diego, flew off to San Diego, learned from Steve Cotter. So, even the functional movement screen with Gray Cook, flew over to the US to go and learn that. So whenever there was something that was quite innovative or new, I wanted to get as close to the source as I possibly could and learn from those people.
I absolutely love that. I love that. Like, you're a very much all-in guy, and I really respect that. It's so good, because a lot of people, some of the certifications I've seen around today, especially with AI, they don't do it like that, the way you do it. They will source it from AI, and then they'll try and talk about it like they've deep dove into it. And you can just tell that they just don't know enough about what they're talking about.
No.
So I love the fact that you went all in, and it's a big reason why it became such a successful beast. And like I mentioned to you off air, one of my coaches did a lot of those certifications, and she spoke so highly of the movement screening one that you did, the kettlebell ones that you did as well. And she taught us a lot around those things back then, which was awesome. So pretty cool, man. But all these business ventures, all these things that you've done really well, where was a time where you felt like, you've made a couple of errors or mistakes, or where there were some serious learning experiences for you? Because
there's learnings every day. I'm still making mistakes.
We all are, don't worry.
Yeah, I make mistakes on a regular basis. And I love business because I find it's the ultimate self-development program, right? I've learned so much about myself and the way that I operate and the way that I think. But it's kicked me in the ass with some lessons. Probably one of the biggest mistakes, but also a scenario that provided not just one lesson, but countless lessons, was FDI was well established at this point in time, and there was a RTO that entered the market, and this RTO was very aggressive. They wanted to dominate the market, and we were working with the biggest RTO at that point in time, and they said, we want you to work with us. And not only do we want you to work with us, but we want you to only work with us exclusively. And we can promise you X amount of business. And the numbers were eye-watering. It was the first 7-figure partnership deal that I'd ever done. It took about 12 months to negotiate, lots of lawyers involved and everything else. And then we started that partnership, and it was phenomenal at the start, right? We'd taken on extra staff, we'd fitted out all their campuses across Australia with all the functional training tools, and we were delivering several courses a week. Wow. And it was very exciting. It was taking the business to another level. But then some things started to happen with that partnership that, in retrospect, really pointed towards a much bigger problem. And that was they were getting slower and slower paying their invoices. And they'd pay a little bit here, but not a lot. Anyway, I was still relatively a rookie when it came to business, and I was probably more trusting than I should have been. We gave them a big line of credit. They were on every bus, they were on every TV commercial, radio commercial. So they had big celebrities from the Biggest Loser as the faces of their business. So we didn't foresee that there was going to be any problems. But this line of credit was getting longer and longer and longer. And they were taking even longer to pay the invoices. And I remember I went across to Canada to deliver our first ever courses in Canada. So I'm in Canada, and then I've just skipped across to New York to have a few days off before I come home to Sydney. And I woke up one morning and there was the news headline that they'd gone into liquidation. Oh. And it was just this immense sinking feeling.
Oh, yeah, I can only imagine.
We'd just taken on all this stuff. We had fitted out, so it fronted a lot of the cost. They weren't able to pay their invoices. And really the business as a whole was on its knees. And at that point in time, I didn't know whether there was a way out. And it was the odds were stacked up against us whether we'd survive in that position itself. Obviously, we did do so, but the lessons I learned in that was I learned a lot about who to partner with and who not.
Yeah.
In retrospect, there were red flags there. There was value misalignment, but I suppressed that because the deal was so significant and so large and the opportunities were so high.
Yeah, okay.
And that's not something I've ever done since, is there has to be values alignment, and it has to, you've got to trust your intuition, and the intuition was a little bit off and I didn't take heed of that. Second thing is I'm just a naturally very trusting person. And so I believe people would operate business the way that I operate business, which is
I resonate with that, yeah.
You have integrity. If you're going to do something, you go and do it. Well, not all professional organizations work that way.
Not all people work like that.
Not all people work that way. And so whilst I always see the good in humanity and in people, I now need to have processes in place because I cannot assume that.
Yeah, it's a sad thing, but it's an unfortunate necessity.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. When we looked at the business, we had gotten very bloated.
Yeah.
We'd gotten big, so we were spending a lot of money and we had a lot of cost creep. And so it's something that I'm really cognizant of these days. My businesses have, I'm very fortunate they've continued to grow, but making sure that that cost creep hasn't also.
It's funny, when people start to make more money, automatically people start to spend more money.
Absolutely.
Or same thing with organizations. We had a similar thing where we made money fast, but financial literacy was one thing that I lacked. And before I knew it, I don't know where these expenses came from. I was like, how did that get up there? How did we start spending money on this? Where did that come from? And so I'm very much like you, where it's like, we're making the business is growing, but I want to make sure it grows without these random expenses just jumping on board at the same time. So it's definitely a focus point for me, because it's just not so much me trying to be a control freak, but at the same time, it's like if we're going to grow, I don't want to grow and then have the same profit as we're growing. I want to increase profit as we grow, which is the goal for any business owner.
Absolutely,
really,
absolutely, and it happens all the time. Like one of the great things about our coaching program is that people grow. They grow their revenue significantly, but there's times where they're like, Dan, like I don't feel like I'm making any more profit. And I'm like, well, let's have a look.
Yeah.
You've taken on too much expense here, and that's why. And that's exactly what we've done.
Well, I think in the fitness industry in particular, a lot of coaches get very fixated on that shiny object, right? That they get that syndrome where I can't remember the exact word of it all, but it's like the shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
Where like they think a bigger place is going to mean that they make more money, or they think that the best, newest, latest equipment is going to be the thing that they need to be different from the rest. And I'm like, guys, if I can tell anybody anything after my 16 years in this industry, the equipment means nothing.
Yeah,
absolutely nothing.
The equipment is there for you because
it's
you've
what
got.
I like.
It's
exactly
what you
right.
like, and you've got pride in it.
Yeah.
But does it influence the bottom line? Absolutely not.
No, not at all. And I always tell people, like, I've been very fortunate to mentor and help other very early business owners in our industry, young PTs that see what I do, want to be where I'm at. So I take that. Like that is a nice compliment, but when they ask me for advice or can you do like a bit of business coaching with me, I get very nervous and anxious because I don't, like you guys do such a good job with it, but I get to the point where I'm like, I really don't want to mess this person's career up with some of the advice that I give. So I try my absolute best to get them to focus on the really important things and not get fixated on these little small things that they think are important but really aren't important in the grand scheme of things. And I guess that leads me into my next question. You're a business coach. You've got an amazing and really, really impactful business through Fitness Profit, which I'm a part of, and I can appreciate the amount of impact you have on my life and my career and my business. But you see a lot of different business owners. A lot. There's a lot of them in our
we have a lot of variety in our community.
What are the top, say, 3 things that you feel people focus on that don't actually have much impact in their business?
Only
if
3.
If you can limit it to 3. I know there's about 10 things I want to go through your head, right?
It's like, how long do you have?
If there's more than 3, throw them out. But what are like some of the things that you just constantly see that you're trying to advise people on, hey, that's not going to give you as much of an ROI as you think it might, Yeah,
look, I think a lot of business owners in the fitness industry approach it through the lens that they came in at. And what I mean by that is they came in as a coach. And so they're fixated on anything regarding the actual program itself, whether that's the exercise equipment, whether it's the layout, whether it's the programming, whether it's the check-ins. And don't get me wrong, don't mishear this. Product is very important, but they're looking to take it from a 9 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10. They're spending days a week in development and doing so, and their marketing and sales might be at a 1 or a 2 out of 10.
Yeah.
And so they're channeling way too much time and energy in the minutia and just getting that just slightly better, and they're not looking at the commercial side. So that would be the main area that people just have a disproportionate amount of time. Because if they were able to go and take that 6 to 8 hours that they're spending developing the product, or they're putting into more equipment, or fitting out their gym, and actually put it into marketing and sales, they would find that the growth would be exponentially better.
Yeah.
And that's probably the main one to sum it up. The other thing is they often will develop more bells and whistles for the client. So they might create more nutrition plans, more dashboards, more check-ins, more portals. The client doesn't really care about that stuff, right? The client cares about the results that they derive and the experience that they have. It doesn't need 1,000 bells and whistles to make that happen. Quite often you can actually end up doing, it has an opposite effect, because now it's only more and more things that the client is not using. And so they're saying, well, I'm investing this money on all these bells and whistles that I'm not utilizing. So it has an adverse effect. And that's where I see a lot of business owners get into some problems is they go and create this complicated beast. They've kind of Frankensteined it in terms of added all these different parts, and then they don't know how to undo it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it really is, they make business more complex than it needs to be. Business is pretty simple.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's easy, but it's simple.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. And the biggest example I can give you, which I'm pretty sure you'll agree with, is the F45 model.
Yeah.
Like, it's a simple model that doesn't necessarily focus on being the greatest programming model in the world. And I always tell people this, and I think I mentioned this to you before as well. In the fitness industry, they actually led the way with focusing on community, and getting people to enjoy just being a part of something that's fun.
Yeah.
And feeling valued. And people are always going about, look at how they train though. I'm like, but does it matter?
Yeah.
Really? Does it matter? If they're getting somewhat of a result and they're feeling good and they're around people that like them and that make them feel valued and they're part of what they feel is a community for them, that is what people kind of, want. They want connection.
I remember that hit me between the eyes because here I was a real technician, right?
Me too,
I really had a high regard for my craft. And I did my first F45 session, and there's a room full of people, and I'm waiting outside for this class to finish. So there's 30 people training, and then they go out, and then the next lot comes in. And they didn't know me from a bar of soap. I just signed up online. I rocked up. There's no screening. I'm like, where's the movement screen? Where's the biomechanics screen? Where are you testing my muscles and all of this? There's none of that. The warm up was, 3 or 4 ridiculous exercises. And then I go in and do the session, and the perfectionist in me and the technician in me is like, this is wrong. Yet there was a full class when I arrived. I'm in a full class. As I'm leaving, there's another full class. And I'm like, they got more people than I do.
Yeah.
Their product is, from a technical perspective, not there. But what they understood was they were about creating an experience.
The music, the DJ, the
absolutely.
everything. Yeah, the color scheme, everything matched. Everything was,
Yeah.
branded. It just looked bloody cool.
Yeah, they understood that we're not in the fitness industry, we're in the experience industry.
Yes.
And they hit that. And here I am going, well, why aren't you testing, whether my, psoas is short or, and they're like, well, let's just have, let's have a party, right?
Fun.
Let's have some fun.
Yeah.
Let's sweat. Let's have some high fives. And let's have people walk out that door feeling like better than when they walked in and just absolutely loving life.
And I have clients that have left me up the road, like a few doors up, we have the yard.
Yep, I saw that as I drove past.
So some of my clients, maybe 3 or 4 of them, have gone from us to there, and they love it there. And they see me, and they get really awkward. And then one of them in particular said to me once, hope you don't mind that I went to the yard. I said, bro, you enjoying your training? I said, yeah. I said, that's all that matters. Go enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
The guy hasn't got any result.
Yeah.
He hasn't, to be honest, he hasn't. But he's having a great time and he's looking after himself. Go, enjoy it. I always tell our clients here, we're going to introduce whatever we feel is the best thing for you to do with your training, with your programming, but we're going to really focus on making sure that what you need from us, you get. And that's feeling safe, have a great experience. We're going to we deliver on our promises to you, and make sure that everything that you're getting from us, you're always constantly happy with. I haven't updated a program in a good maybe 3 years, and we still get results, still get results. My coaches get a whole bunch of upskilling all the time, but the actual programs itself and the way in which we deliver, the layout, that hasn't changed. And I know the clients don't care. They just want to make sure they get in, train hard, start to look better as time goes on and feel better. And that's what that really matters to them. And I love what you said about the fact that, we add so many elements on thinking that this is going to be a great value stacked package. And I've had so many people say to me, I'm not going to use all that though. So why should I be paying X amount of dollars if I can't use all these things? And I would just be sitting there going, oh, fuck.
Yeah, well, as business owners, we love making it more complex than it needs to be, right? And one of the things is simple scales. And you look, F45 is a great example. At the time, it was a simple model. It was, there was a 45-minute class. It was one membership type. You could run it with pretty inexperienced coaches because of the screens and the experience itself. And that then enabled them to scale, I don't know, to at that time 600 plus sites around Australia and New Zealand, right? So simple scales, we add unnecessary complexity.
Yeah, we do.
And that is one of the biggest, I guess, problems or challenges that many business owners have.
I think a lot of business owners as well, especially in our industry, when accountants had that simplicity model that F45 brought out, other coaches would add stuff on. I think for me, it was looking at it from my perspective, it was like, why are they so worried about what F45 is doing that they feel like they have to add on an extra 10 things to make themselves feel like they're better than F45, for example. And that's why a lot of coaches that I knew at the time, especially when I was new and kind of growing and building a lot of momentum and this big reputation, a lot of coaches were adding all these extra things. And I kept asking, why though? Like, it's okay. When I first started in an area called Peakhurst, it was in a tiny space. Remember the size of my mezzanine? And we didn't have the fanciest equipment. And then there were 4 F45s within a 5K radius that opened up around me. And people, my clients were like, F45s in Peakhurst now, and F45s in Mortdale, and F45s here, and F45s there. I said, cool. So you guys happy with me? Yeah, let's just focus on that. It never really fazed me. And then everywhere I moved, there was always another gym opening up around me. And my clients would always say to me, oh, there's this gym opening up, and then this gym's opening up near you, and these guys are next to you. Cool. Like, I can't help that. It's always going to happen. So what do I focus on? What they're doing? Or do I focus on just delivering a really good product to you guys? And I think a lot of business owners, irrespective, and this is just my opinion, but irrespective of the industry that they're in, sometimes they just need to believe in what they're doing and in themselves, because that will allow them to really focus on what's important and not get distracted because of the insecurity in what they feel like they're not good at or not good enough with doing.
It's the old saying is very, very true, is comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
And if you're focusing on them, then you're not focusing on your business, your people, and your product and your experience. And really, like, I think we're all in a market of one, right? And like there's other gyms, but there's no business like your business, right? And there's other coaching businesses, but there's no other fitness profit. And we really want to make sure that I'm just looking after my clients better than anybody else. So they're not even contemplating somewhere else. I'm looking after my team. I'm upskilling them, and I'm just putting all the energy, time, attention into that space. And I've gotten to a point now where I won't even follow or look at other competitors because I'm like, it's just a distraction. And often what we see anyway through the lens of social media is a manufactured world. It's curated. It projects a perfect veneer, but all that glitters is not gold.
It's just a highlight reel.
It is. Yeah, there's so much more to it.
100%. And one of the things one of my clients this morning sent me a photo or a link. He said, somebody's now franchising what you're doing, and it's in a semi-private model. And I said, you do know that somebody taught me that 12 years ago that was already doing it 12 years ago.
Yeah.
I said, so it's always going to be around. Somebody's always going to try and copy and paste it and make it as if what they're doing is different from the rest. That's good luck to them.
Yeah.
Doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
And he's like, how do you kind of stay so focused? I said, because I don't watch what other people do. I really don't. I focus on what I can do for my clients. And, it's the care that we give them is my main priority. And that's all it will be,
Yeah, I mean, we've got finite resources. We have finite time, energy, and focus. And we need to, business is a game of turning those inputs into outputs.
Yeah.
But if I'm utilizing those inputs and I'm going and, looking at my competitors and what are they doing, and they're using the same language as us, and, they're copying us and this and that, then I'm just diluting the inputs, which will then will mean less outputs.
Yeah.
And the outputs for me are making sure our clients get results. It's making sure that we're growing as a community of like-minded people.
Yeah.
And all I will end up doing is compromising that.
And I think that's a good point, because when the focus shifts away from what's important, you start doing things that are not really aligning with that end goal, right? And I see it a lot in our industry, right? Some of the research that I'll do about how to gain more attention or attraction to our ideal client, some of the advice given, say, for example, if I jump on ChatGPT and just get them to do a bit of an audit and I ask them some questions, it'll say something along the lines of the ideal account that your client follows, comment on that account, because the people that follow that account that are similar to your client base will see your comments and it gives you more reach. And I'm thinking to myself, if I focus on what all my competitors are doing and just comment on all their accounts, that's going to really distract me from being able to support the people that I need to support, right? So obviously I never really did that. But it's funny to kind of see that when you get given advice like that, I'm kind of a bit more switched on to not do that. But imagine a lot of other people in our industry that are asking very similar questions of AI, for example, and then doing that. And I'm like, it's such a waste of their time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I imagine if you just channel that into serving your client a little better, getting them better results, making them a billboard for you and your business.
I have a question that it's always intrigued me about yourself. You've started multiple businesses from scratch. And I really admire that. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you is because you don't have necessarily this, 500,000-600,000, following, but you've built these businesses to become really, really, really successful in multiple ways. How? Like, what are your kind of top 5 qualities that, without giving too much away, you know what I mean? What are the things that you really kind of knuckled down on or nailed? You really want to make sure that were a part of who you are to see these things being achieved in the way that you've achieved them? Because you've been around some big rooms, and around some big people. I built some amazing things that you should be so proud of.
Thank you.
My mind just thinks to myself, how is this guy doing it? Not once, not twice, but like now 3-4 times,
Oh,
there's a
lot there. I think the first is, and this is what's worked for me. So I want to premise that.
Yeah.
This might not work for you. The first is I've always chosen businesses that I am selfishly passionate about.
Yeah.
And some people, there's advice like, follow your passion and you'll never work another day in your life. That's bullshit. Like, I work, right?
Fuck that,
I work. But it is that passion does help me in those challenging moments. Like,
100%,
I love working with people like you, and I love helping good people win. I love the fitness industry, and I feel I'm wildly passionate about it. So the first is I've chosen businesses. The first was studio because I loved training people. I love training. Second was the education company. I love education. I love learning. I told you I used to fly all around the world learning. So I wanted to provide those opportunities, and I saw the power of education. I love business. And so, I want to help people run better businesses because then they can have more freedom and it can be a vehicle for a better life. So I'm passionate. That's
Number one, yeah.
That's number one. Passion in itself is not enough. There has to be a need, number 2. So, is there a gap in the market for your product, for your service? So when I started providing personal training in my little local South Coogee, there wasn't much around there, not at the standard we were doing it.
And that was 20 years ago.
That was 20 years ago, give or take, right? So then when I started education, there weren't certified courses in functional training modalities or tools. Then when I started the business education, there wasn't a community. So passion and need, they have to meet. They have to intersect. The third is I have a dogged determination. I will not accept anything less than success. And it's why I've been in the game for over 20 years, and I'm still as committed and as hardworking as I was then. I don't have to be, but that's who I am.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest reason why people are attracted to you is because that, like, you don't have to, but you choose to do it. And it derives back from that passion. You can see it when you present to us. Whenever we have the emotions, whether they're local or the big ones, the way that you present with what you talk about, mate, no one's looking away. Everyone's just eyes on you, right? And you can tell that you're so valued with the information that you give, but it comes from the fact that you want to help every person in that room, every person online, anybody that's listening to you. the impact you want to have is you want it to be a good one.
Absolutely.
That's for me. That's one of the reasons why I chose to work with you guys, as opposed to any of the other business coaches in our industry. That was the main catalyst for me, and because you're an absolute top bloke.
Thank you. Yeah, look, that dogged determination is also goes hand in hand with I'm incredibly grateful, and I don't take anything for granted. Like, people like yourself are entrusting in me, my team, my community, and I want to make sure that we do everything in our power to help you succeed.
Yeah.
You are. I know it's not easy being a business owner, and you're giving your hard-earned money and your very valuable time, and you entrust in me. And I want to make sure that we do everything in our power. Now, I can't control whether you get results or not, because this is a two-way partnership.
100%.
But I want to do everything in my power to set you up to succeed and win.
Well, you are doing a lot of good for me. Just want to put it out there. There's a lot of success that I can attribute to what you and the team have done for me. So.
I appreciate that. So the third would be that dogged determination, but also approaching it like I'm just so grateful, and I'm so humbled by the opportunity to serve.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the biggest things that I learned from my life, and it's that gratefulness. That's, a lot of people go, how do you just get up and just keep going and keep doing it? And I said, because I got up. And they look at me like, I said, I was able to get up today. And they just look at me. I said, just stop for a second, think about that. For me, it's as simple as it goes.
Yeah.
Right. And that gets very deep for me when it comes to me getting up. Right. Because, I lost my grandfather just randomly one morning, got up, wasn't feeling well. Within a couple of hours, he had a heart attack and gone. So you just don't know when your time's up, man. A very close friend of mine, he got a phone call. His dad had, just randomly out of nowhere passed away recently. You just don't know when your time's up.
Can't take it for granted, right? You cannot take it for granted. Fourth thing for me is doing exactly what you do. It's going and getting help, right? It's like, if you
have your own, sorry to cut you off, if you have your own
I've
mentors,
always had coaches and mentors, always. I can't stand here or sit here and go have a coaching business without having a coach myself, right? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. That's a contradiction, because coaching is the ultimate ability to time travel. You get to learn from someone else's experiences that's already walked the path before you.
Yeah.
So they all know all the pitfalls. They know all the challenges. They know all the obstacles. So they can foresee it before you actually have to trip up on them.
Yeah.
And they provide insight. They provide accountability. They challenge you, and they're in your corner. And everybody needs that.
100%. Some of the greatest, other than yourself, some of the greatest people I've learned from have always said the same thing. Coaches, got to have a coach.
Got to.
I've always had a nutrition coach, a coach for my training. Like, this is to upskill me.
Yeah.
And then I upskill the team. So, and then I have my business coach. The coaches in the areas that I need support in, I've always been there for me my entire career. And there was a moment in my career where I didn't have any coach for anything. And it was the most stagnant that I ever was. And as you know, with stagnant, it's not being still. It's actually going backwards. And that was when I was at I was lost. I had no structure, no guidance, I just didn't know what I was doing. I was just turning up to work, just going through the motions and going home. And there were no KPIs, there was no targets, there was nothing. And I thought to myself, when I went through that maybe 3 or 4 month period, I thought, I'm never not having a coach ever again. And then I got another one, and I was able to kind of get back on track with the things I wanted to achieve. And I truly value having a coach. I love the accountability. I love knowing that somebody that's already gone and walked my path, essentially. It's helped me get to where they're at, which is where I want to be at. Which essentially is, having a life that I can just enjoy, but using my business as a vehicle to give me the life that I enjoy. Now, one of the other questions I have for you is, when you look at somebody wants to join your fitness profit community, when you do that initial chat with them, or when your team does that, what are some of the things that you can notice that they're doing straight away that they can easily just stop doing or change that will give them such a big return on investment?
Yeah, the main one is their pricing and packaging, right? For me, it is the easiest lever to just change the trajectory of your business. And that doesn't have to be a fitness business. It can be any business. I only work with one non-fitness industry client at the moment. He does floor plans, photos, videos for real estate agents. And immediately I looked at his pricing and packaging and I was like, here's the opportunity. And we've been able to increase profitability by 15% by doing so. We're now adding more jobs on top of that, but it was such an easy fix because just the way that he'd laid it out had room for improvement. So that, I do a lot of initial strategy calls with people coming into our community. I do all the initial strategy calls now, and pretty much 9 out of 10, it's shifting their pricing and packaging.
Yeah.
So they have too many options, we simplify it, right? Too much information makes the brain choke, simplicity scales. They are undercharging because they're comparing themselves to everybody else in the local market, and so they've commoditized their product based on comparison. So we shift away from that. They have often created the pricing and packaging options at the whim of their clients, and so they have no control. And so we take some of that control back.
Yeah.
They have held onto prices historically. They're too afraid to increase them. We shift that. So straight away I can go into a business and I can add conservatively 15 to 20% profitability by changing the pricing and packaging. That's the first big piece. The second big piece that most people lack is they lack a multi-channel acquisition system. So they might get, a couple of leads through word of mouth, but they don't know where the next lead is coming from.
Yeah.
They're hoping, and it's like they're getting this occasional drip, and we teach them how to create leads many ways, 6 different ways, and then they have a tap. And when you've got more lead flow coming into the business with better pricing and packaging, then the byproduct of that is you're going to have some fairly impressive growth.
I mean, we've noticed that with our business, like the 6 different ways you're talking about, we've implemented. And mate, I'll tell you what a difference it's made. Not only to the people coming in terms of acquisition, but retention-wise too.
Absolutely.
Especially from the events tab.
Yeah, big, huge.
And we mentioned that earlier this morning in our call. Did. Like the things that I do for our clients, and I invite our clients to bring friends, family, or I put it out to the public. But our clients will come back going, Anthony, it was fantastic. Your educational talk was awesome. I love what you're doing for us. Thank you for helping us. Or we had a really good kind of just night out at a pub recently, and everybody was like, when's the next one? Because everyone just got together, different environment, different scene, just relaxed. It was nice. And it makes you appreciate, having a community like ours. But more into what you were saying, those multifaceted, there's different types of ways you can get leads. It's quite important. And I think if somebody doesn't see a couple of leads come through from a Facebook ad, they want to turn it off. Yeah. Because they just get upset with it or annoyed by it, which I can understand. I've been there before, but I think it's a very much an evolutionary thing, right? Like you got to understand what's trending, what's not trending. Having you guys in my corner with the growth agency, for example, really helped me understand what actually what my area is doing. Because I never understood that before. I thought it was just a stock standard thing, and why aren't people coming in if I'm giving a 7-day trial out? So the education and the support there from the growth agency was really cool to actually understand what is going on and why things are happening. But I can definitely appreciate those 6 channels are very important, man.
It is, yeah. So that's where we normally start, and that's the biggest gaps. And that's businesses. It's not just new businesses. We'll get some very established businesses, and there is, I was speaking to a guy yesterday. He has over 400 members, and still his pricing and packaging and his acquisition system, both, there was huge gaps.
Wow.
And I'm like, you solve these 2 gaps. Like,
love and life, mate. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I remember there was a story that you told about one of the guys in the group. He had over 500 clients, and then he changed his model. Yes, he had maybe half the clients.
Yeah.
But the profit went just dramatically. Revenue went up, profit was
Yeah,
much
well, he
better.
was charging, I know exactly who you mean. He was charging $19 a week. We switched him to a $99 a week product, so he charged pretty much 5 times more. He went from 500 clients to 250, but you tell me, what's the better business? He's making, 20, he's doing 25 grand a week on half the amount of clients. Makes acquisition a lot easier.
Yeah.
And he's got a much more profitable business, and he's a much happier human being.
Yeah, and he's actually a nice guy too. Very nice guy. Alrighty, so last question I have before we wrap up. If you were to go back in time, right, start it all over again, what would be the top maybe 2 or 3 things that you would maybe change about your approach? Or would you keep it exactly the same?
Oh, look, I mean, everything... I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And every challenge and obstacle that I've experienced has served a very good lesson. I think if I had my time over again, I'd get out of my own way a lot earlier. I really had some limiting beliefs around money and worth that led me undercharging for an extended period of time. Led me really having a very scarce, fear-based approach to what I could charge and holding on to that and just letting clients do whatever, however they wanted. And even still that can show up today.
Yeah.
So I wish I resolved my relationship with money earlier. That would be one. Second was... I think naturally I had some good leadership skills in that, and I was always thrust into leadership positions, but I do wish I embraced being a leader a little more seriously and developed as a leader better. I wasn't a great communicator, particularly early on. That was probably the biggest gap in my leadership, and if I had my time over again, I'd resolve some of the issues I have around money. I'd become a better leader, a better communicator. I'd embrace radical candor and conflict a little better than what I have done in the past.
I can relate to that one.
And I just know on the other side of that is a much better business operator and someone that. Yeah, someone that leads the way they should.
Well, mate, from someone that is on the opposite end of your leadership, you're a great leader, mate.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Well, Dan, look, thank you for your time today. I've really loved chatting with you today, man. I'm sure our listeners would have enjoyed it as well. Where can we find you? Are you on social media? Do you have a website? Where can we find you?
Look,
I'm reaching out to you personally.
I'm spending more and more time on IG these days. So it used to be almost solely Facebook, and then I'm really embracing IG. So at Coach Dan Henderson, that's probably the best place that you can find me. We do have a website. It's fitnessprofit.com.au. The podcast is Profit Made Simple. It's on YouTube. It's on all podcast channels. And you can listen to your interview and many amazing entrepreneurs and business owners. Yeah, there is.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it again. Guys, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget, like and subscribe to us on YouTube and Spotify. We'll see you next week.